Hey everybody, Simone here with Bulletproof Business Growth, as always with some ideas and insights, what to pay attention to when you are growing and scaling your business. So one thing that's pretty hot right now, it's always hot, but I think especially with summer and all sorts of other things going on, kids being out of school and all that, people are overly busy and getting really tired. So I want to talk a little bit about burnout and how it's more of a business model problem, not a personal one. Because look, most small business owners still work harder than anybody they know, and they still feel like they are falling behind. So they're overwhelmed, they're exhausted, and they're secretly asking themselves, is this all there is? Is this really it? So they've built a business that works, but only if they never stop. So today's episode is going to challenge everything you've ever believed about success and scale and what it really means to lead, because in the end, that's what it's all coming down to. Because look, here's the truth. The most successful entrepreneurs in 2025 aren't working more. They're working smarter, they're working simpler, and more like Fortune 500 CEOs. So if you're listening to this, chances are you're already successful on paper, right? You've made money, you've helped people, you've built something out of nothing. But here's the point that nobody sees. You're still the one who's solving all the problems. You're still the one who's holding the whole team together, and you're still the one who's making 50, 100, however many decisions a day and running out of steam by 3 p.m. and you really wish you could be done with it. And look, it's not because you're weak. It's not because it's because your business is still built all the way around you. So we're going to talk about how it's not about hustling harder. And that's still what everybody's mindset is a lot of times. It's about building a business that runs without you. And of course, how AI makes that possible faster than ever before. So let's start here. Let's just pick as a premise that hustle is not a business model. And it's how most of us started, right? Grinding, bootstrapping, doing everything ourselves. And this is what got us here, right? And this is the good point. This is where we're all taking our evidence from, that this is how it works. But what got you here will absolutely not get you there, right? So what got you here will not get you there. And the problem is that most business owners don't know how to stop. They've stacked so many systems, processes, apps, and hacks that their business by now has become this big old tangled mess. And here's what that creates. Bloated costs, overwhelmed team members, constant firefighting, no bandwidth to think strategically, which of course is the worst. And that chaos, living in that chaos day to day, it's expensive. Every manual handoff, every disconnected tool, every broken link, every broken process, it all chips away at profit, at energy, and of course, at momentum. And that's something you can never replace. Now, if we contrast that with Fortune 500 CEOs, they scale by simplifying. They don't just automate tasks, they remove entire categories of decisions. They ask, what's the simplest way this can run? Of course, without me. So they figure out what that is, and then they build that. And that's what you need to do too. Not more hustle, but, if you will, more elegance. Because that's really the best solutions are simple and elegant. And that's what's missing for most businesses. So let me paint a picture here. So imagine a CEO of a Fortune 500 company standing over a blueprint, right? Like an architectural blueprint, not a to-do list here, right? Big difference. They're not wondering how to send invoices or fix their CRM or rewrite their landing page. They're looking at the entire system as a whole, and then they're asking, where are the inefficiencies? What are the bottlenecks? Where do I need to invest to remove myself? Where do I still have my fingers in something that is absolutely not serving the business at its highest serving, right? This is the shift most small business owners never actually make. They dream about it, they talk about it, if they're conscious about it, but they never actually make it because they're too busy doing, right, to step back and actually start designing. And that's what we want to do here. And, the big catch, of course, here is you don't get paid for what you do. You get paid for the machine you build. You don't get paid for what you do. You get paid for the machine you build. So when you stay in the weeds, you cap your income, your impact, and of course your freedom. Income, impact, freedom. That's why we're all in the entrepreneurial business, right? And you'll never build a true business. You'll just have a job, maybe with a fancy title, maybe not. But this is why AI is such a game changer right now, because it really lets you start replacing yourself, not with more employees, but with smart systems that scale better than people ever could. Because, think about it. A human VA costs, 3 to 5K a month, and they still need to be managed. An AI system could cost a fraction of that. It works 24/7, it makes no mistakes, and it never needs a day off. And that's how you go from operator to architect in this whole thing, from worker to wealth builder, because that's where we want to go with this. Jeff Bezos once said that his job was to make just 3 high quality decisions per day. And, most days he probably made fewer than that. And now relate that to how you operate. If you're like most business owners, you make dozens of decisions every day, some big, some small, but all of them are draining and all of them require a lot of bandwidth. That's not leadership. That's being kind of like the control tower and the janitor and the pilot all in one job description. So here's the challenge. Could you structure your week around just 3 core decisions? Think about this. Could you structure your week around just 3 core decisions? And look, if that idea terrifies you, it should, because it reveals how dependent your business is still on your personal capacity. And, there's some good news to that, because that can change really, really quickly. AI lets you offload the dozens of daily micro decisions that chew up all your time and your energy. So when you think about it, what's the next step in this project? Well, AI can manage workflows. What email do I send today? Well, AI can draft that for you. What tasks are overdue? Well, AI can flag and delegate them. So there's a million different things that you could look at right now, and in your brain, you're still the one who has to run it all, but really not true. So instead of drowning in tactical work, you shift into strategic command. So now you can look ahead, make better decisions, and truly think like a CEO. Because if you're going to scale sustainably, right, here is the truth. Your calendar must reflect your value. Your calendar must reflect your value. So if you're still doing, all sorts of $20 an hour jobs, if you're filling it with busy work, something's got to give. It's not going to go forward the way that you want it. And let's talk about burnout, because most of the business owners that I speak to aren't just tired, they're disillusioned, they're tapped out. And they did everything right? They worked hard, they hired help, they followed mentors or gurus or whatever, and they're still stuck. And you might wonder why. Well, because they built a business that revolves around them. And every decision, every client, every crisis depends on their presence, and they're showing up and solving this. And the problem with that is a lot of times their identity is deeply rooted in this kind of hero behavior. But in the end, that's not only exhausting, it's unsustainable. So the real issue here isn't time management, it's business model misalignment, because burnout happens when you're too essential to the day to day, when your team can't function without you, when your systems are, kind of held together by bubble gum and duct tape. And you've kind of lost sight of what freedom actually looks like and really what you're here to do. So you might wonder, what's the solution here? The solution is not yoga or a massage or more self-care. It's not another assistant. It's not a new project management tool. What you need here to truly make a lasting transformational change is a complete redesign of how your business runs without you. And that's really where AI can step in so many ways, because it becomes the bridge between chaos and clarity here. So, because once you apply this smartly, right, you can finally standardize the work. You can automate the repeatables. You can free up your brain from all the big stuff, all the stuff that you should actually really be paying attention to. And the best part about this is it's not theoretical. We've helped clients automate 80% of their operations just with a few plug and play systems. And we've watched them reclaim massive amounts of time just within weeks. And of course, with that goes profit and peace of mind. So this is honestly, it's not magic. This is what modern leadership looks like right now. So let me say something that might sting a little here, because most business owners at this point are at least dabbling with AI, right? They're using it maybe to get some content ideas, maybe some email drafting, maybe they have a chat bot, but they're not letting it touch the infrastructure of the business, right? And that's a huge mistake, because your infrastructure isn't just your business model. It's not just your SOPs. It's not just all the nitty gritty tactical stuff. It's your people and how they operate it. So it's not a productivity boost as much as it is a leadership multiplier. And that's what you absolutely need. So it can build the systems for client onboarding, fulfillment, retention. It can document SOPs on the fly. It can assign and track tasks, and of course it can handle all the follow-up. It can analyze team capacity, inefficiencies, of course summarize meetings, all this simple stuff that you know already. But it can do a whole lot more than that. It can give your team the 5 C's that I always talk about, right? It can give your team clarity. It can give them context. It can give them certainty, communication, consistency. And that is how you create that self-leading business, right? That business that actually runs without you. So in other words, it can act like a fractional COO if you let it, and at a fraction of the cost. That's the really good news. But here's the thing, it only works if you commit, and that's really where the consistency comes in. You can't half automate a broken system and then expect magic. You have to think differently here. You have to, instead of thinking like a builder, you have to think like an architect. You have to think like a Fortune 500 CEO. This is like, think like someone who is done being the glue that holds everything together, because that's what you've been doing. So let AI be the glue. Let your team kind of be the growth engine here, and then you get to be the visionary again, which is really where we need you to be, so that you can make the difference that you've been meant to make. So let's land this, right? If you're feeling stuck and burned out, or you're bored with your business, which, that's how it can express itself pretty frequently, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're trying to grow with a model that keeps you in the middle of everything. So the breakthrough here doesn't come from working harder. It comes from working like a leader of your business, and not just of a business, but the leader your business needs right now, and not the worker, the operator that it currently has. right? That's a big contrast here. And to really get anywhere, you have to embrace that fact. So the fastest way to make that lead is by treating AI not like a trend, but like the new infrastructure that you absolutely can't do without. So if you want help doing this, and if you want help doing this the smart way, where you don't have to reinvent the wheel, go and head over to aibusinessscalingblueprint.com, aibusinessscalingblueprint.com, and grab that $27 AI blueprint and let it walk you through how you exactly simplify your operations, you systemize your growth, and you can really build that business that absolutely can run without you if you let it. Because in 2025, the most successful business owners won't be the ones that are working harder. They're the ones who are designing better. So the ones who do less and actually win more. So I hope this was super helpful for you. Make sure you head over to aibusinessscalingblueprint.com and let us know if you have any questions. We're always here to help you. Have a great week.